The jungle was alive with the sound of insects and the call of birds. Tall green trees rose high above, and the air was heavy with the smell of earth and leaves. Rohan moved carefully through the tangled roots, his eyes searching for a path that was half hidden by vines. His friend Mira followed close behind, carrying a small pack filled with water, fruit, and a notebook. They had been walking for hours, guided only by an old map that Rohan had found in the town market. The map was not printed on modern paper. It was drawn on cloth with faded ink. The man who sold it to him said it showed the way to an ancient Mayan temple that no one had entered for centuries. Most people laughed at the story, but Rohan believed there was truth in it. Mira had agreed to join him, not only because she liked adventures but also because she wanted to study the carvings and writing if they found the place. The sun was sinking lower, and a soft golden light filtered through the trees. Rohan paused to wipe the sweat from his forehead. The jungle was thick and every step felt like a struggle against roots, mud, and hanging vines. Mira stopped beside him and looked at the map again. "We should be close," she said in a calm voice. "The map shows a river nearby. If we follow it, we might reach the temple before night." Rohan nodded. He trusted her sense of direction more than his own. Together they walked until they heard the sound of running water. Soon they stood by a narrow river, its surface glowing with the reflection of the evening sky. Across the river, hidden under a wall of plants, they saw something unusual. The shape of stones, larger and straighter than natural rocks, formed a kind of staircase leading upward. Rohan's heart quickened. "That must be it," he whispered, though there was no one around to hear. They crossed carefully, stepping on flat rocks until they reached the other side. Pulling away thick vines, they uncovered the entrance to a forgotten place. A wide stone stairway climbed into the side of a hill. Moss covered the steps, but beneath it the stone was strong and well cut. Mira touched the carved edge of the stair. She brushed away dirt and saw patterns that were not simple designs. They looked like ancient Mayan symbols, but there was something strange about them. Some lines curved like stars in the sky, and some shapes looked like small circles inside larger ones, almost like planets. "This is not like the usual Mayan carving," she said softly. "It feels different, like it tells more than a story of kings or battles." Rohan felt a chill of excitement. He remembered the words of the old man in the market. The man had said the temple was called the Death Temple, and that it was cursed. People in the villages spoke of shadows that moved inside and lights that glowed in the night. Most feared it and stayed away. But Rohan was not afraid. He felt curiosity stronger than fear. They began to climb the steps slowly. The jungle grew quieter, as if the birds and insects were watching. At the top of the stair, a dark entrance waited. It was shaped like the mouth of a giant carved in stone. The teeth of the carving formed the doorway, and the eyes of the figure seemed to follow them. Mira opened her pack and took out a small lantern. She lit it, and a soft, warm glow spread around them. The light fell on more carvings inside the entrance. Rohan leaned closer and saw that the walls were filled with images of men standing with spears, their bodies painted red. But above them, strange, shining shapes floated. Some looked like suns, some like ships of light. "Warriors of blood," Mira read aloud. She had studied enough of the old writing to recognize the words. They were guardians of something hidden, the treasure of light. Rohan felt the word settle in his mind. Treasure of light. It sounded less like gold and more like something alive. A cool wind came from the tunnel inside. It carried the smell of stone and age. Rohan stepped back for a moment and looked at Mira. She met his eyes and smiled, though he could see she was nervous too. "Do we go in?" she asked. "We came this far," he said. His voice was steady, though his heart was racing. They stepped into the shadow of the temple, the lantern light guiding their way. The walls seemed to close around them, but the carvings glowed faintly as if touched by a hidden light within the stone. Rohan reached out his hand and felt warmth under his fingers, though the stone should have been cold. The path went deeper, turning left and right like a maze. Their footsteps echoed softly. Mira kept noting down the symbols in her book, whispering the words she could read. She spoke of stars, journeys, and guardians chosen by blood. At last they entered a larger chamber. The ceiling was high and the walls were filled with carvings of circles within circles. In the center stood a tall stone figure of a warrior holding a golden shield. The shield caught the light of the lantern and reflected it in bright rays across the chamber. Rohan stared at the figure. It looked almost alive. He could see the fine details of the face, the armor, and the shield. The eyes of the statue seemed to glow with a red spark. Mira placed her hand on his arm. Her voice was a whisper filled with wonder and a touch of fear. This is no ordinary temple. The Mayans built it for something greater, something that does not belong to the past alone. Rohan nodded slowly. He felt the weight of the moment. The temple was not just a ruin. It was a doorway to a secret hidden for centuries, and he and Mira had just stepped inside. The chamber was silent except for the faint drip of water falling from the high ceiling. Rohan lifted the lantern higher, letting its glow spread across the carvings. The wall seemed endless, filled with patterns of circles, stars, and long lines that curved like paths across the sky. Each line connected to another, forming shapes that reminded Mira of constellations. Mira moved closer and studied the wall. Her fingers traced a line that joined a circle to a cluster of small dots. She opened her notebook and began to copy the design carefully. "These are not ordinary Mayan carvings," she whispered. "They look like maps of the heavens. See this circle? It might be the sun. And these small dots could be planets." Rohan frowned as he looked at the shapes. He had no training in astronomy, but he could see that the carvings showed more than simple decoration. They carried meaning, as if the builders wanted to leave a message for the future. The statue of the warrior in the center of the chamber stood tall and still. Its golden shield reflected the lantern light, making the whole room shine softly. Rohan stepped closer to the shield. On its surface, he saw lines etched deep into the metal. These lines were not scratches from time. They were deliberate. "Mira," he called softly, "come look at this." She walked over and held the lantern near the shield. The etchings showed the same star patterns as the walls, but in the middle of the shield was something different. A shape that looked like a vessel, long and smooth, with bright lines spreading from it like rays. Mira's breath caught. This is not something the Mayans would have drawn from imagination. It looks like a ship, but not like any ship on water. It looks as if it travels in the sky. Rohan felt the air grow heavier around him. He thought of the stories the old man had told him. Stories of shadows and lights. Could it be that long ago the Mayans had seen visitors from the stars? Before he could speak, the faint glow in the statue's eyes brightened. Both Rohan and Mira froze. The red spark grew into a steady light. Then, to their surprise, the statue spoke. The voice was low and deep, echoing through the chamber. It was not in a language they knew, yet somehow they understood. The words formed inside their minds: guardians of blood, seekers of light. Why have you come? Rohan stepped back, his heart racing. He looked at Mira, but she seemed as shocked as he was. She tightened her grip on the lantern, but her voice remained calm. "We seek knowledge," she said. "We came to learn the meaning of these carvings. We came to understand." The statue's eyes glowed brighter. "Knowledge is the path, but knowledge must be earned. This place is not for greed. It is for those who carry respect in their hearts." "Do you carry such respect?" Rohan spoke with honesty. "We do not come for gold or riches. We want to learn the truth that was hidden here." The chamber grew quiet again. Then the statue's shield glimmered with a golden light, brighter than before. The carvings on the walls began to shine faintly, as if awakened by the statue's words. Mira turned slowly, watching the walls come alive with soft light. The patterns of stars glowed, and some of the lines moved gently, like rivers of light flowing across the stone. She whispered in awe. "It is like the temple is alive." The moving lines joined together and formed a larger pattern. It showed a map of the sky, with one circle shining brighter than the rest. The statue's voice returned. "This is the heart of light. It was given to the people of Earth long ago. The warriors of blood were chosen to guard it. They gave their lives to keep it safe until the time was right. Only those who respect life and truth may see its treasure." Rohan felt a weight in his chest. He thought about the name of the temple, the Death Temple. It was not about death as punishment. It was about sacrifice. The warriors had given themselves to protect something greater than gold. Mira placed her hand on his arm. Her eyes were wide with wonder. "Rohan, this is not a temple of the past. It is a message for the future. The Mayans were chosen to guard something that came from beyond this world." The statue lowered its head slightly as if in agreement. The golden shield shimmered, and a small opening appeared at the base of the chamber wall. A passage revealed itself, glowing faintly with the same golden light. "Enter," the voice said. "If you are true seekers, the path will open. If you carry greed, the path will close." Rohan looked at Mira. His voice was steady, though his heart was pounding. "Do we continue?" Mira nodded slowly. "We must. This is what we came for. The truth waits for us." They stepped toward the glowing passage. The walls around them pulsed gently with light, guiding their way forward. The air was cool, but it carried a strange energy that made their skin tingle. As they walked deeper into the passage, the sound of their footsteps echoed in rhythm, as if the temple itself was alive and listening. Rohan felt both fear and hope rise inside him. Whatever lay ahead was not ordinary treasure. It was something greater, something that had waited for centuries. Mira held the lantern high, but the golden glow of the walls soon grew brighter than the flame. Together they walked forward, unaware of what awaited them at the end of the path. The golden passage curved slowly downward, leading Rohan and Mira deeper into the hidden heart of the temple. The air was cooler here, and the walls shone with a soft light that seemed to come from inside the stone itself. Mira closed her lantern and placed it back into her pack, for the glow around them was enough to guide their steps. They walked carefully, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Each turn revealed more carvings, glowing softly in patterns that told stories of stars, travelers, and guardians. The deeper they went, the stronger the golden light became. Rohan felt a mix of awe and unease. It was as if the temple itself was watching them. After a long walk, they entered another chamber, larger than the first. Tall stone figures lined both sides of the hall. Each figure was carved as a warrior, standing straight with shields and spears. The details were so fine that the carvings looked almost real. Their eyes were shaped with care, and their faces carried expressions of calm strength. Mira stopped at the entrance and whispered, "They look like they are waiting." Rohan nodded. He could almost feel the weight of their presence, though he knew they were stone. He stepped forward slowly, keeping his eyes on the nearest figure. As his foot touched the center of the chamber floor, a deep sound filled the room. Like stone grinding against stone, the figures moved, their arms shifted, their shields rose, and their eyes lit up with a red glow. One by one, the warriors came alive. Their steps were heavy, but their movements were smooth, as if they were not carved from stone but built from something stronger. Mira gasped and stepped back, but Rohan stood still. The warriors formed a line across the chamber, their glowing eyes fixed on the two travelers. None raised their spears, but the silence that followed was heavier than before. Then a voice filled the chamber. It did not come from one warrior alone, but from all of them together. The words entered their minds just as the statue's voice had done earlier. "You who enter the path of light, you stand before the guardians. Speak your purpose." Rohan steadied his voice. "We seek knowledge, not treasure. We wish to understand what this place means." The warriors remained still for a moment, their glowing eyes unblinking. Then the voice spoke again. "Knowledge is given only to those who prove their hearts. You will be tested." Mira tightened her grip on her notebook, her voice soft but clear. "What kind of test?" The warriors stepped aside, forming a path down the center of the chamber. At the far end, a doorway appeared in the wall, glowing faintly. The voice spoke once more. "The path will show truth. If your heart is pure, you will pass. If not, the path will close." Rohan and Mira exchanged a glance. Both felt the weight of the choice. To walk forward meant facing the unknown. To turn back meant leaving the mystery unsolved. Rohan took a slow breath. "We came here to learn." "We must go on," Mira nodded. Together. They walked between the rows of warriors. The glowing eyes followed them, but the guardians did not move. Rohan felt as though the warriors were studying their every step, weighing their thoughts and their intentions. The glowing doorway grew brighter as they neared it. When they stepped through, they found themselves in a smaller chamber. The walls here were plain, without carvings, and the air was very still. In the center stood a stone table with 3 objects placed upon it. The first object was a golden cup, shining brightly as though filled with light. The second was a stone tablet, its surface carved with ancient symbols. The third was a small mirror, polished so perfectly that it reflected their faces clearly. A voice spoke again, but softer this time. "Choose with wisdom. Each object holds meaning. The cup is power. The tablet is knowledge. The mirror is truth." Rohan stared at the 3 objects. His mind raced. If they chose wrongly, would the guardians return? Mira stepped closer to the table and studied the items carefully. "The cup looks beautiful, but I think it is a trap," she said gently. "Power without wisdom is dangerous." She touched the stone tablet lightly. This holds knowledge, but knowledge can be misunderstood if the heart is not ready. Her eyes turned to the mirror. Truth shows what we are, even if it is hard to see. Perhaps this is the right choice. Rohan looked into the mirror. He saw his face, tired from the journey, but also filled with determination. He saw Mira beside him, her eyes bright with curiosity and courage. In that moment, he understood. The temple was not testing their hands, but their hearts. He placed his hand on the mirror. At once, the chamber filled with golden light. The mirror shimmered, and the voice spoke again. You have chosen truth. Truth is the root of knowledge, and without it, power is empty. You may continue. The light faded, and the mirror dissolved into the air, leaving only the tablet behind. The golden glow from the walls returned, brighter than before. A new passage opened at the back of the chamber. Rohan and Mira shared a quiet smile. They had passed the test. As they stepped into the new passage, the sound of the guardians behind them faded. The stone warriors returned to stillness, their eyes no longer glowing. The chamber grew quiet once more, but Rohan knew the guardians had not disappeared. They would always watch, waiting for the next seekers of truth. Together, Rohan and Mira walked forward, ready to discover what secrets still lay hidden deeper within the temple. The passage that opened before Rohan and Mira glowed softly, as if the stone itself carried a hidden light. They stepped inside, their hearts steady but filled with wonder. The air was warmer now, and the faint hum of energy surrounded them, low and constant like the quiet sound of a heartbeat. As they walked forward, the walls began to change. Instead of carvings of warriors or stars, these walls showed images of circles joined together, shapes that looked like tools and long lines that curved like waves. Mira ran her fingers over the smooth stone and whispered, "These are not just drawings. They look like instructions, as if the builders wanted to teach something." Rohan nodded. The temple felt less like a place of worship and more like a place of knowledge. The path grew wider until they entered a vast chamber unlike anything they had seen before. The chamber was round, with a high ceiling that shone like polished gold. The walls glimmered with lines of light that moved slowly, flowing like rivers. In the center of the chamber stood a large platform, and upon it rested something that caught their breath. It was not a pile of gold coins or jewels, as legends often spoke of. Instead, the treasure was a great block of glowing metal. Its surface shone with a golden light that shifted gently, almost like sunlight on water. Around it were smaller objects shaped like discs and rods, all made of the same shining material. Mira stepped closer, her eyes wide with amazement. "This is not ordinary gold," she whispered. "It feels alive." Rohan reached out a hand but stopped before touching it. The air around the block of golden metal hummed, and he felt a warmth against his skin, though he had not touched the surface. It was as if the treasure itself was waiting, aware of their presence. On the floor around the platform, symbols glowed faintly. Mira bent down to study them. She read slowly, her voice soft but steady. It says, "Gift of the stars, carried to earth by travelers of light, guarded by the chosen ones until the right time." Her eyes lifted, shining with wonder. "Rohan, this is not treasure from the earth. This is something given to the Mayans by visitors from the sky." Rohan stared at the glowing block. He felt the truth in her words. The stories of the temple, the guardians, and the strange carvings all pointed to this moment. The Mayans had hidden this gift not because they wanted to keep it for themselves, but because they were asked to guard it. Mira placed her hand gently on the golden surface. To her surprise, it did not feel cold or hard like metal. It felt smooth and warm, almost like touching living skin. At her touch, the block brightened and patterns of light spread across the chamber walls. The patterns formed moving images. They showed people standing beneath the night sky, looking up at shining vessels that floated among the stars. They showed travelers descending, carrying gifts of light and speaking with the people of Earth. They showed warriors standing guard, their bodies painted red, protecting the gift with their lives. Rohan and Mira watched in silence, their hearts full of awe. The images ended with one final picture, a group of people passing the golden block to others, as if handing over a duty that must continue. Mira spoke in a quiet voice. "This is the secret of the temple. The golden treasure is not meant to make anyone rich. It is knowledge, a seed of learning. The Mayans kept it safe because they believed humans would one day be ready to use it wisely." Rohan thought about the stories of gold buried with warriors of blood. Now he understood. The warriors were not buried with gold for wealth. They were buried near this treasure as its protectors, giving their lives to keep it safe. He placed his hand next to Mira's on the glowing block. At once the hum grew stronger and a voice filled the chamber. It was calm and steady, not loud but clear inside their minds. You are seekers of truth. The guardians allowed you to pass because your hearts are without greed. This gift belongs to humankind, but it must be used with care. It is not for war or power. It is for growth, learning, and the path of light. Rohan and Mira exchanged a glance. They both felt the same weight in their hearts. This treasure was greater than anything they had imagined. It was not a prize to carry away, but a responsibility to protect. The golden glow softened and the voice faded. The chamber grew quiet again, but the hum of energy remained steady and strong. Mira looked at the shining block and whispered, "It has been waiting for centuries, waiting for us, waiting for humanity to be ready." Rohan nodded slowly. "And now it asks us to decide. Do we reveal it to the world or do we keep it safe until the right time?" The question hung in the air unanswered. For the first time since they had entered the temple, Rohan felt not only awe but also the heavy responsibility of choice. The golden treasure was not just a secret of the past. It was a gift for the future. They stood in silence, the golden light reflecting in their eyes, knowing that whatever they chose would shape the path of humanity itself. The golden glow of the chamber softened, as if the treasure itself listened to the silence between Rohan and Mira. They stood side by side, their hands still near the shining block, their hearts heavy with wonder. Neither spoke at first, for both were caught in the weight of what they had discovered. At last, Mira opened her notebook and wrote quickly, her hand trembling. "This is more than history," she whispered. "It is a message across time." Rohan nodded. He looked up at the walls where the glowing images had faded but left a trace of light behind. His voice was steady, but his eyes were wide with thought. If what we saw is true, then humans were trusted long ago, trusted by travelers from the stars. The chamber grew brighter again as if answering his words. A new series of images appeared on the walls. These were not of warriors or vessels alone. They showed people learning, building, and reaching toward the sky. The figures were human, but their hands were lifted to shining stars above them. Mira studied the shapes closely. "It says something," she murmured, tracing the glowing lines with her finger. She read the ancient script slowly, her voice soft. "Humans are keepers of balance, chosen not for strength but for the gift to dream, to change, to grow." Rohan felt a rush of pride. For so long, people had searched for meaning in ruins, in stories, in myths. And here, hidden deep in the jungle, was proof that humanity mattered in a larger story. They were not just watchers of the sky, but part of it. The golden block pulsed once, and the voice returned, calm and clear inside their minds. "The gift was given to your people so that when the time was right, you would rise. You are not alone in the stars, but only you carry the seed of choice. Others are strong, others are wise, but humans carry the power to shape what comes next." Mira's eyes shone with wonder. She whispered, "The travelers believed in us. They saw something special in humans." Rohan touched the smooth surface of the glowing block once more. "It means humanity has a place in the universe, not because of wealth or weapons, but because of spirit, because of hope." The walls shifted again, and a new vision filled the chamber. It showed the earth itself, blue and green, floating in the darkness of space. Around it circled shapes of light, some near, some far. Then the image showed a line stretching from earth outward, reaching to distant stars. Along that line were humans, walking step by step, carrying the golden glow forward. Mira felt her heart rise with the vision. "It is showing the future," she said. "Not a single person, not a single city, but all of humanity walking together. The gift is not for one, it is for all." They stood in silence, letting the meaning settle inside them. The golden chamber was more than a hidden vault. It was a bridge between worlds, between the past and the future. Rohan spoke slowly, as if to himself. "The Mayans were chosen as guardians. They protected this gift with their lives. And now it is our turn. Not just mine, not just yours, but humanity's turn." Mira closed her notebook and placed her hand gently on his arm. Her voice was firm but kind. "We cannot let this be lost to greed. If we take it out carelessly, it will be fought over and broken. But if we keep it hidden, then no one will learn. We must find a way to share its message without losing its meaning." Rohan nodded, though the task felt heavy. He looked once more at the glowing block. "It is not just treasure. It is a promise. a promise that we are part of something greater. The chamber dimmed, and the golden block grew calm, its light returning to a gentle glow. The voice spoke one final time in that moment. Guardians of today, the choice rests in your hands. Carry forward not the gold, but the light within it. The words faded, leaving only the quiet hum of the treasure. Rohan and Mira stood together, feeling both small and important at once. They were two people in a hidden temple, yet they carried the weight of a truth meant for all humanity. They turned slowly toward the passage behind them. The golden glow lit their path, leading them back through the chamber of warriors. The guardians stood silent once more, their eyes dark, but Rohan felt they still watched with quiet approval. As they stepped into the passage, Mira whispered, "We came searching for ruins. Instead, we found a connection to the stars." "A connection to who we are meant to be," Rohan smiled softly. "And now we must protect it, not just for ourselves, but for everyone." The golden light guided them deeper into the unknown, carrying with it the weight of the cosmic connection they had uncovered. The journey was not finished. The true test lay ahead. Rohan and Mira stepped carefully through the golden passage. The hum of energy from the treasure followed them, soft but steady, as if guiding their steps. The air felt alive, carrying a quiet warmth that made their skin tingle. Every corner of the temple seemed to whisper a story, waiting for them to understand. At the end of the passage, they reached a wide chamber. The ceiling arched high above, shining with gold and soft light. In the center of the room was a platform, similar to the one that held the glowing block, but this one was empty. A sense of expectation filled the space, as if the temple itself awaited their decision. Mira looked at Rohan, her eyes reflecting the golden glow. "This is it," she said softly. "The temple wants to see what we will do next." Rohan nodded. "It is not just a test of courage. It is a test of responsibility. We can take the treasure with us or leave it hidden. Either choice carries weight." They walked slowly toward the platform, feeling the energy in the air grow stronger. Mira touched the stone lightly. The golden hum from the earlier chamber seemed to travel through her fingers, filling her with warmth. "The guardians trusted us," she said. "We cannot betray that trust. But if we take too much, the world may not be ready. We must think carefully." Rohan took a deep breath. He thought about the people of Earth, about how knowledge and power could be misused. He also thought about the vision in the chamber, where humans were walking together under the stars, carrying the light forward. That vision filled him with hope, but it also reminded him of responsibility. "I think we should take only a small piece," he said finally. "Something to show the world, to prove the truth, but not so much that it can be misused." Mira smiled gently. "I agree. One small piece, enough to inspire learning and discovery, not enough to create greed or harm." Rohan stepped forward and carefully lifted a small shard of the glowing metal from the center of the platform. It felt warm and alive in his hand. The light from the shard pulsed gently, as if recognizing their decision. Mira placed her hand beside his, feeling the same energy flow through her. The chamber responded immediately. Golden light spread across the walls, illuminating carvings and images that had been hidden in the shadows. The voice they had heard before spoke again, calm and steady. "You have chosen wisely. Knowledge and truth are precious. Power without care destroys, but light shared with respect grows. You carry a seed for humanity, and it will bloom if hearts remain pure." Rohan and Mira stood quietly, absorbing the weight of the words. They felt the responsibility settle in their hearts. The temple had trusted them, and now it was up to them to honor that trust. Mira looked at the small shard of glowing metal in Rohan's hand. "We should keep it safe," she said. "Not in a museum or a city where people might not understand. We need a place where it can be studied carefully, where knowledge can grow without danger." Rohan nodded. "And we must also share the message. The story of the guardians, the warriors of blood, the travelers from the stars. People must understand why this gift exists and why respect matters." They placed the shard carefully into a small protective case Mira had in her pack. The light from the chamber dimmed slightly, as if satisfied with their choice. The passage behind them opened again, leading back to the main chamber of the temple. As they walked, they passed the stone warriors. Their eyes no longer glowed, but Rohan felt the same quiet approval he had felt before. The guardians had witnessed their choice, and they had passed the test. Outside the chamber, the jungle waited as it had for centuries. The temple was still hidden beneath vines and trees, its secrets safe for now. Rohan and Mira looked back once, seeing the entrance glow faintly in the evening sun. They both understood that their journey was only partly complete. The treasure was safe, but the true work had just begun. "We carry more than a piece of metal," Mira said softly. "We carry the story, the knowledge, and the responsibility to help humanity grow." Rohan smiled. "And we will do it together. The temple has given us a choice, and we chose wisely. Now it is up to us to guide the world toward the light." They turned and began their walk back through the jungle, the shard of golden light safely in their pack. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but it filled them with purpose. Each step forward was a promise to the past, the present, and the future. The Mayan death temple had revealed its greatest secret. It had tested them, guided them, and trusted them. And now, Rohan and Mira carried not just a gift, but a mission to honor humanity's place among the stars. The jungle was calm as Rohan and Mira stepped out of the hidden temple. The evening sun painted the leaves in warm gold, and the sounds of birds and insects filled the air. The temple behind them was silent, its secrets safe once more, hidden beneath layers of vines and stone. Rohan carried the small shard of golden metal carefully in his pack. Mira walked beside him, her notebook full of notes and sketches. Neither spoke at first. The weight of what they had discovered pressed on their minds, yet it was not a burden. It was a responsibility they were proud to bear. Finally, Mira broke the silence. "We have seen something that no one else has. The Mayans entrusted us with their secret. We cannot forget what they taught us," Rohan nodded. "It is more than a secret. It is a message. Humans have the ability to protect, to learn, and to grow. The gift is not for us alone, but for all of humanity." As they walked, they passed a small clearing where the sunlight fell in golden patches. Rohan paused and looked at the light. "Think of all the people who will never know this place exists. We carry proof, but more than that, we carry the meaning. That is what will change the world," Mira smiled. "And we can start by sharing what is safe to share. The story of the warriors of blood, the guardians, and the travelers from the stars. People will understand that humans are capable of great responsibility. They moved through the jungle with care, avoiding broken branches and thick roots. Their path was slow, but each step felt important. Every moment reminded them of the lessons they had learned inside the temple. Trust, courage, and respect were as valuable as the golden shard itself." Rohan stopped suddenly and looked at Mira. "We must be careful. The shard is powerful, but it is not meant for greed or selfishness. We will need allies who understand this responsibility." Mira nodded. "We can choose people who respect knowledge, who value life, and who want to help others. That is how the gift will fulfill its purpose." The sun was low in the sky when they finally reached a safe clearing near the edge of the jungle. They rested for a moment, setting the pack between them. The shard glowed softly, as if responding to their thoughts. Rohan reached into the pack and held the small piece of glowing metal in his hand. The warmth it gave was comforting, and the light shimmered like a small sun. "It feels alive," he said. "It reminds us of what we are meant to do." Mira placed her hand on his. "It is alive because of us," she said gently. "Because we carry it with respect. We are part of its story now, just as the Mayans were part of the story before us." They sat quietly for a moment, listening to the jungle around them. The weight of history, the responsibility of the present, and the promise of the future all seemed to meet in that place. Rohan felt a deep sense of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. "We have a choice," he said softly. "To hide this forever, or to guide people toward understanding. We must guide them. Not with force, not with fear, but with truth and respect." Mira nodded again. "The temple taught us that. Power without wisdom is empty. The shard is a symbol, a seed. We must nurture it." As night fell, the stars began to shine above them. They looked up at the sky and felt a connection to the travelers from long ago, the ones who had given the gift to the Mayans. The stars seemed closer, as if they were watching, waiting, and trusting humans once more. Rohan smiled, feeling hope rise inside him. "We are part of something greater than ourselves. Humans were chosen for this gift. That is the legacy we carry." Mira raised her hand to the sky, letting the soft light of the shard reflect in her eyes. "And now it is up to us to help humanity see what it can become. We can show that we are capable of protecting, of learning, and of growing." The shard glowed brighter for a moment, then settled into a gentle warmth. Rohan and Mira packed it carefully and began their journey back toward the village. The jungle around them seemed calm, as if it understood that the temple had chosen the right guardians. Each step felt like a promise. A promise to the past, to the Mayans who had protected the treasure, and a promise to the future, to the generations of humans who would one day carry the light forward. The Mayan death temple had shared its secret, its knowledge and its trust, and Rohan and Mira knew that the human legacy was just beginning. They walked on through the jungle carrying not just a piece of golden light, but the hope and responsibility of all humankind. The path ahead was full of challenge, but it was also full of promise, and they were ready to guide the way.